This is the story of a boy who couldn't read, couldn't write well, and often felt like he didn't belong. But instead of giving up, he picked up a pencil and started drawing monsters. Decades later, those monsters would take over Asia's art toy scene. His signature creation, Labubu, would become one of the most iconic and collectible designer toys in the world. People camp outside stores just to get one. Fans pay thousands online. And yet, the man behind it all, he stays mostly out of the spotlight. So how did a shy, soft-spoken artist from Hong Kong end up building an art empire? Craze was born in 1972 in Hong Kong, a city buzzing with energy, noise, and relentless. Teachers thought he was lazy or slow. Other students teased him. The truth? Craze had dyslexia, a learning disorder that made reading and writing feel like running through mud. Everything was harder, slower, more frustrating. But instead of fighting with words, Craze turned to something that made sense to him: drawing. He didn't need grammar to tell a story. He could tell it with a single image. While others read comic books, he studied the panels. While others played outside, he created strange creatures in his notebook. He was building his own language through visual storytelling. In his teenage years, Craze's family made a life-changing decision. They left Hong Kong and moved to the Netherlands. It was a cultural shock. Craze didn't speak the language. He didn't understand the customs. He felt like a ghost walking through someone else's story. But instead of shrinking, he adapted. The new environment, quieter, more artistic, and slower paced, gave him space to grow. He enrolled in art school, studying graphic design and illustration. For the first time, he was surrounded by people who saw art as something serious, not just a hobby. And although his dyslexia still made written assignments difficult, Craze's ability to express emotion through images set him apart. He wasn't chasing perfect technique, he was chasing feeling. His style became emotional, surreal, and deeply human, raw sketches that seemed to say what most people couldn't. After college, Craze started working as a children's book illustrator. He teamed up with Dutch authors to bring fairy tales and fantasy to life. It was a stable job. The pay was decent. But inside he felt like something was missing. He was drawing other people's characters, other people's ideas, other people's worlds. At night, after the paid work was done, he'd go back to his sketchbook and draw for himself. That's when the first version of a little creature started appearing. It had sharp teeth, big eyes, and a messy head of hair. It looked like a monster, but one that wasn't scary. It looked lonely, but brave. Ugly, but somehow lovable. The name would come later. But the idea was already there. He was creating Labubu, the birth of the monsters. Labubu wasn't just a character. It was a symbol. It represented all the weirdness Craze had felt growing up. The isolation, the sadness, the wonder, the curiosity. Soon, Labubu was joined by other characters, weird foxes, ghosts, stitched bears, shadow creatures, each one with a distinct personality, but all tied to the same emotional world. He called them the monsters. But these weren't traditional monsters meant to scare. These were the kind you find in dreams. The kind that live in the spaces between childhood and adulthood, the parts of us we often forget. He didn't care about making them sellable. He cared about making them real. What he didn't know was that the world was ready for exactly that. In 2014, everything changed. Kaysing met the Hong Kong-based art toy company How to Work, known for turning original artwork into collectible vinyl figures. They saw Labubu and knew instantly this was special. Together they produced the first limited edition Labubu toy. Small, vinyl, hand-painted. Just a few hundred units, and they sold out. Immediately, collectors went wild. Online forums exploded. People were begging for more. The resale value skyrocketed. Kaysing had officially crossed the line between illustrator and art brand. He didn't just create toys. He created emotionally resonant sculptures that people connected with on a personal level. What followed was something no one, not even Kaysing, could have predicted. Each Labubu drop became a major event. Fans lined up for hours in Hong Kong, Taiwan, Japan, and later across Europe and America. Labubu became a cultural icon, not because of some huge marketing campaign, but because of storytelling. Every version of Labubu had meaning. Forest Labubu represented mystery. Rainbow Labubu symbolized wonder. Stitched Labubu wore emotional scars. Ghost Labubu was about memory and grief. These weren't just color swaps. They were emotional chapters in a silent story. And Kaysing? He refused to mass-produce them. Each drop was limited, intentional, personal. That scarcity made them more valuable, but the art made them unforgettable. Name in the art toy world. He hosted sold-out exhibitions. His toys were resold for thousands online. His fan base stretched across the globe, from teenage collectors to luxury art buyers. And yet he never became loud about it. He let his monsters do the talking. No flashy ads. No clickbait content. Just emotion, honesty, and raw imagination. Today, Labubu is more than a toy. It's part of pop culture. It represents childhood, sadness, playfulness, healing, all wrapped in one silent, wide-eyed figure. Kaysing Lung's story isn't just about art. It's about resilience, creativity, and building a brand by being unapologetically yourself. He turned his biggest struggle, dyslexia, into a gift. He created a global business without following any traditional rules. And he proved that stories don't always need words, just heart. From the sketchbook of a misunderstood child to the hands of collectors around the world, from Hong Kong to Europe, from silence to legacy. This is the story of Kaysing Lung and the little monster that changed his life, Labubu. And it all started with a pencil.